Hello and welcome back to another Fat Matt Adventures video. This time we're taking you on a scenic drive through Cades Cove Loop in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So sit back, relax, enjoy the music, the beautiful views, and learn a little bit about the history of this amazing place with us. Today, Cades Cove is one of the most visited areas in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Visitors are able to explore historic cabins, churches, and a grist mill, spot white-tailed deer, turkeys, and black bear, enjoy gorgeous mountain scenery, or take a leisurely bicycle ride around the Loop Road, which is what you see here in this video. My family and I got here on a Tuesday afternoon in early March, and as you can see, the traffic isn't too congested. But if you plan to come out on a weekend, I would expect to see quite a bit more tourists. Now, even though there are pull-offs to stop and take pictures on the sides of the road, you will find some vehicles stopping in the middle of the road for a few seconds for their snapshots. This should be expected here and there, so just be sure to have a little patience and allow them to soak in the views. We came across quite a few street-legal side-by-side vehicles on this loop. There are a few places nearby, such as Gatlinburg, where you can rent them and actually drive them from there all the way to Cades Cove. On a nice day like today, that would be a lot of fun. Cades Cove was not always a place to visit just for a day, though. It used to be a place to live. For over 100 years before the park was created, many families worked and played in the Cades Cove Valley. Before Europeans settled in the valley, Cherokee Indians traveled through the valley to hunt the abundant deer, elk, bison, and bears. In this picture, you can see a small group of daffodils. It is said that where you see these daffodils, a homestead once probably stood there, as early settlers planted them around their cabins. Cades Cove Loop is an 11-mile, one-way road that circles the cove, offering motorists the opportunity to sightsee at a leisurely pace. Allow at least 2 to 4 hours to tour Cades Cove, longer if you walk some of the area's trails. An inexpensive self-guiding tour booklet is available at the entrance to the road, and it provides a map and information about the cove itself. At the time we did this loop, it was a self-pay to get the map, and it was only $1. As you can see, around almost every corner there are spectacular views, so just make sure to have your cameras ready. The first European settlers arrived in the cove in the early 1820s. They quickly built log homes, barns, corn cribs, smokehouses, and cleared land for farming. The land was rich and fertile and provided the settlers with abundant crops such as corn. By 1850, the population in the valley had reached 685 as new families moved to the cove and numerous children were born into the families already settled there. It was not uncommon for households to have 10 to 12 children. As the population grew, more community buildings were needed. A Baptist and Methodist church were established in the 1820s. Schoolhouses were built a little later, so at first the school children met in farmhouses where the school teachers were boarding. As you drive around the loop, you'll notice a couple of roads that actually provide a shortcut back to the exit just in case you're running out of time. This road coming up is Hyatt Lane and shaves off about 2 miles. The loop road is very well maintained, and it takes you through wooded areas like this and then also through open valleys, so you get a variety of views. The road you see here to the right is an unpaved road that takes you from Cades Cove all the way to Tuckaleechee. This road is an amazing road to travel on. I really wanted to do it, but it is closed November through May. So that means we'll just have to come back here in early fall. The name Smoky in Smoky Mountains comes from a natural fog that often hangs over the range and presents as large smoke plumes from a distance. This fog is caused by the vegetation emitting volatile organic compounds, chemicals that have a high vapor pressure and easily form vapors at normal temperatures and pressures. This part of the loop is really popular, and you can see why. It has really nice open views of the mountains and meadows, and a lot of people come here to have picnics, take pictures, and just hang out. A death in the community was another reason for neighbors to help one another. When a member of the church passed away, the church bell would ring to get the people's attention. After a pause, the bell would be rung for each year of the dead person's life. Community members usually knew who was sick and the approximate age of the people in the church, which made it easy to identify who had passed away. The men would then dig a grave or make a coffin if one was not already made. The women would prepare the body and the coffin for burial. The men and women of the community would also help take care of the needs for the family of the deceased, such as by cooking meals, gathering crops, and caring for the young children. To the right, we're coming up on Dan Lawson's cabin. Around 1856, Dan Lawson built a cabin home on the property that originally belonged to his father-in-law, Peter Cable. Unusual for the Smokies in the 1850s, this cabin has a brick chimney. As were most bricks in the Cades Cove, they were handmade on the property. Due to the beautiful woodwork and architecture of the cabin, it's believed that Peter Cable helped Dan Lawson build the cabin. A pre-Civil War dwelling, the original cabin was made of logs, but it was altered at times by the addition of sawed lumber. Lawson also expanded his land holdings from time to time, eventually owning a large strip of land which stretched from ridge to ridge. The cabin would later expand with an additional second story and porch. The porch would be used for the post office that was ran from his home. The Dan Lawson Place property was also home to corn crib and smokehouse.
Hey guys, come look at this really cool cabin. Let's go check it out.
Okay. I'll walk around the outside.
There's no cabins.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
No.
Oh,
This is really cool.
This is cool. Over here.
Cabin.
Probably like a little barn or something. Well, maybe. another bedroom. It's pretty, still sturdy wood. How old it is.
Let's go back to it. Let's go back.
No. Go back.
Let's go
Here, yeah.
And here.
What do you think, Ethan?
It's cool. I see. This place is huge.
What do you think this was?
This was probably a barn. Because it kind of looks like a barn.
Cool.
Ooh. Hey, Casey from Coyote Works. What do you think this place is? That was probably a house for really small people. Wait, that's the barn.
A house for really small people. So there's the cabin. Let me get back over here. So there's the old cabin. And some sort of storage building over there. And something like,
What?
kind of like a storage building here too.
What, Mom?
Like a storage building.
And then over here, we got a big barn. This is so cool. So we've got all the Smoky Mountains, and we're in this huge valley. Let's go check out the barn. Some old tin,
Dad, is there a restroom?
some old boards. I don't believe so.
When we get out, you have to hold it.
Kids are having a good time. Hey Gavin, are you having fun, buddy?
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody hi?
Can I go in the horse?
Can you say hi, everybody?
Nope.
Okay.
I want to stay in the barn.
A loft up there.
That's a cool little trail. See that?
I have go like there.
Let's go over there and check that out.
Alright.
Let's go see where this trail goes. If anybody wants to donate a gimbal for me, that'd be awesome. Just let me know. Oh, that's cool. Nice view. Okay, back on the trail. Ooh. I'm gonna go get a picture of some flowers over there. These are cool. Let's go check out the inside of this cabin. It's cool.
Okay.
So windows. It was common for neighbors to assist one another, and they often made social events out of corn husking, molasses making, and gathering chestnuts during the autumn months. Courtships that started at social events often led to marriage. Many family farms had a wiener cabin, a cabin the son would bring his bride to live in the early days of their marriage. The wiener cabin was far enough away from his family for privacy and independence, but close enough to help and to be helped. This is called Tipton Place. Miss Lucy and Miss Lizzie were school marms in Cades Cove in the second half of the 1800s. They were daughters of Colonel Hamp Tipton, a veteran of the Revolutionary War, who shortly after the Civil War built this two-story home. The Smoky Mountain homestead he built eventually included a smokehouse, a woodshed, corn crib, blacksmith shop, cantilever barn, and a apiary for bees. Tipton sold land to, and hence was surrounded by many of his family and friends. A few of those include Joshua Job, Jacob and Eisen Tipton, and Thomas Jones. In 1878, their house was rented to James Macaulay, who was trying to settle in the cove. Macaulay was a welcome newcomer to Cades Cove as he was a blacksmith. In time, Macaulay built his own home, along with top-quality blacksmith and carpentry shops. Macaulay was a trusted blacksmith, carpenter, and coffin maker, working in Cades Cove for a quarter of a century. When the states of Tennessee and North Carolina began to purchase land for the creation of the national park, the first large piece of land purchased in 1927 included most of the land in the mountains north of the Cades Cove. A few families welcomed the state's efforts to buy the land for the park. They willingly sold their land and moved out of the cove. However, some families did resist the effort. One resident, John W. Oliver, went to court several times before he finally lost. Some residents signed life leases that allowed them to live on their land for the rest of their lives. People who agreed to a life lease were given less money for their land and were required to live by the rules set by the National Park Service, such as restrictions on hunting, trapping, and timber cutting. As residents left the cove and the community dispersed, there was no longer a need for facilities and services. The last school in Cades Cove closed in 1944, and the post office closed in 1947. Today, the National Park Service manages and maintains Cades Cove as it looked in the early days of the settlers. In 1945, the National Park Service designated Cades Cove as a historical area and restored several of the older log cabins and barns. While visiting Cades Cove, take a look around and just imagine what it might have been like to grow up in the Cades Cove Valley. All in all, Cades Cove is one of the most serene and pastoral places to be found. The breathtaking views of pastureland, majestic trees, rolling hills, sunsets, and wandering animals are incomparable. As one makes his or her way through this glorious valley, reminders are everywhere that in the not-too-distant past, this place was also home to a small group of American pioneers. A tour of Cades Cove is leisurely with a calming and relaxing atmosphere. However, the lives of the early settlers were difficult, with struggles at every turn. The Native Americans suffered, and the settlers suffered, but in the end, this historic cove reminds us from where we came as a country. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next adventure.